This is part 2 for our section 6.3. These are tougher examples. So in triangle ABD, that's this big triangle, we have segment AC, that's the red one. It's going to bisect angle BAD, and that's this angle up top. So if it bisects that big angle, again, you know that angle 1 and angle 2 are congruent, just like we did on the last two easy problems. Now, if the measure of angle CAB, that's this little angle here, that's angle 1, if it's 35 degrees, and the measure of angle ACB, that's this angle down here, they're telling you that this angle is 85 degrees. They want you to find the measure of angle 2, the measure of angle D, the measure of angle ACB, that's this one, and the measure of angle B. So you're going to find every other angle in the triangle. Well, notice how the big triangle actually is split into two smaller triangles. And here's a good place to start. If you know that angle DCB is a straight angle, then you know the measure of this angle as well. So in a straight angle, you have 180 degrees. So if this guy's 85, wouldn't this have to be 95? 85 and 95 add up to 180. Now that you know that angle, you know two angles in this triangle. Okay. Also, this angle is an exterior angle for these two remote interiors. So if that's 35, I know this angle has to be 50 because 35 and 50 add up to that 85. Okay. Also, angle 2 is congruent to angle 1, so that angle is 35. Notice here that this 95-degree angle is an exterior angle for these two remote interior angles here. So I know if that's 95 and that's 35, this has to be 60 because 60 plus 35 gives me 95. Here's another tougher example. This one's going to have variables. In this triangle RST, segment SU is an angle bisector. So that means these are congruent angles. If the measure of angle RSU, that's this little one right here, is 2x plus 15, and angle UST, that's this bottom one here, is 5x, find the measure of angle UST, find the measure of angle USR, and find the measure of angle RST. So let's look at these two angles. One of them is 5x, one of them is 2x plus 15. We don't really know what either of them are, but what do we know about them? They're congruent angles, so their measures are equal. So we're going to take a moment here, use some algebra, solve for x. We're going to subtract 2x from both sides. Then we're going to divide by 3. Get x equals 5. Now, that's not the measure of the angles, that's the mystery number. So if x is 5, 5 times 5, that gives you 25 degrees for this angle. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 plus 15 is also 25 degrees. Now, are you surprised that these angle measures are the same? No, remember, they have to be the same because of the angle bisector. You should be surprised if they weren't the same because you set them equal to each other. So that's a good way to check your algebra. Now, the last question, obviously these two little angles are 25 degrees. What's the measure of angle RST? That's the big one. 25 and 25 make 50. Here's another tougher example. Here's triangle FIH. Segment IG is an angle bisector, so that means these two angles are congruent. The measure of angle FIG is, that's this little guy, it's 5 times the quantity x minus 1. Also, the measure of angle HIF, here's where you got to watch yourself. That's the big guy, okay? This is the big angle. It's 8x plus 2. Now, is this little angle, FIG, is it congruent to the big angle, angle HIF? Definitely not. They are not congruent to each other. But what if you took half of this angle measure? If you took half of it, wouldn't they be the same then? Definitely. So you're taking half of the big angle and making it equal to one of the little ones. Now, you could have also done this a different way. You could have multiplied the little guy by 2 to equal that one. Totally up to you. I'm just going to simplify. 5x minus 5 is what I get when I distribute. Now, when I divide a quantity by 2, you need to divide both terms by 2. So this is 4x plus 1. I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. Then I'm going to add 5 to both sides. X is 6. Now they ask you to find the measure of angle FIG. That's this guy, right? So if X is 6, 6 minus 1 is 5, 5 times 5. Well, it looks like the same 25 that we had on the last problem. What about the measure of angle HIG? Well, if this one's 25, this one's 25. And then measure of angle HIF, that's the big one. It better be 50 degrees. Here's how I can tell. 8 times 6 is 48, plus 2 is 50. So that big angle right there, 50 degrees.